Hi guys, so it was a wonderful night for Nigel Farage and Reform UK as voters sent councillors, MPs and mayors from the right-wing company into positions of power. Now, while this win wasn't a shock, the majority was pretty surprising. Andrea Jenkyns, the former Tory MP who infamously gave people the finger outside Parliament, was elected with a majority close to 40,000. This shows that both some Tories after 14 years are still despised, and Labour are struggling to convince the public that their policies are working. Jenkyns here delivered a very Trumpian type of speech. Have a listen.
And thank you to my friend Gloria, who's in the audience, for keeping me sane. Now, I've fought many elections, 4 general elections, my 3rd local election, but I'm going to be brief with this, don't worry. I've never experienced such negativity and soul-destroying campaigns against me like this one. It was soul-destroying. The dirty tricks in the US politics, I believe it's now been imported here into Britain. The Conservatives called the police on me and implied I slept with political friends. They contacted the mainstream media to smear me. The Independent's husband pushed for a hearing at the council. My barrister had to represent me. The case was dismissed. The campaign was also filled with irony. As one of the candidates stated, I was parachuted in. She said in her South African accent. Now, they undemocratically tried to remove me from the ballot. But I will say no more on this, and I wish them all well. Because this is insignificant now, and I'll draw a line under it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new dawn in British politics. Is that a sign?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so she mentioned 2 things here. Well, the main thing here, of course, was about being parachuted in. She was asked about that again, but before she did, she was asked also about immigration, which is a sign of probably how she's going to run her town, her greater Lincolnshire.
Left when you said he left when you said migrants should be put in tents. That's good enough for France. That should be good enough for them too. Do you think that's a divisive way of conducting politics?
I think it's what the majority and the silent majority think.
That's what you think of migrants. That's where they should.
And well, illegal migrants, people come here illegally. They should be put in tents like they do in France.
People are seeking asylum.
They're not put in tents in France. They end up in tents because they're waiting to cross the channel. France does not put people into tents. Oh my goodness. And how do you determine who's a legitimate asylum seeker and who isn't until you process their claims? And you will not be processing their claims. It will be the Home Office. So you're deciding, okay, I'm going to put asylum seekers, because they're asylum seekers, their claim hasn't been processed yet. You're going to put them in tents in your town. How popular of opinion do you think that will be? Do you think people in the town will be very happy to see asylum seekers living in tents along the street or along the river?
Asylum should also be put in tents?
Well, I think genuine asylum seekers, like Ukraine, etc., that's a different matter.
Okay, so if you come from Ukraine, you will not be put in a tent, but everyone else will be. Like, you're saying here, well, only legitimate asylum seekers will be given proper housing, but anyone who isn't legitimate will not. They will be put in a tent. But how do you determine until you process the claims? And you will not be processing the frigging claims.
And then you also accused one candidate of, she said you were parachuted in,
yes,
and you made a comment about her South African accent. What did you mean by that?
What I meant is, how can they say I've been parachuted in when I spent most of my life in Lincolnshire, school.
Why mention the accent, sorry?
Because the irony of saying someone's been parachuted in who's not even from the country. I mean, I went to school, college, university, so I think...
So someone who's got an accent can't be from this county?
I think, actually, I'm not even going to answer any more of your questions. I think that your questioning is quite divisive. You're looking into things when it was a little play with words, it was a little joke because of the irony. Do you not understand irony?
The only reason I'm asking...
Oh my goodness, it's like Trump. Or it's like one of those idiots that Trump surrounds himself with. that Marjorie Green, or whatever the hell her name is, Andrea Jenkyns doesn't understand irony, and she doesn't understand being parachuted in. So she's referring to an independent candidate. I did a bit of research into this. This independent candidate was born in South Africa, but she's lived in Lincolnshire since 2011. How long has Andrea Jenkyns lived in Lincolnshire? That's the problem. I don't know. It seems she hasn't lived in it until recently. So she was literally parachuted in, or figuratively parachuted in. So the candidate who's criticising Andrea Jenkyns has lived in Lincolnshire longer than Andrea Jenkyns has. But Andrea Jenkyns is criticising that candidate because of her accent. Is Andrea Jenkyns an idiot? Probably. Is Andrea Jenkyns a very bad candidate? Certainly. She's going to be a terrible mayor. Because what is she going to do? She's going to blame everyone else for her own failures, as she did when she was a member of Parliament. It's all everyone else's fault, not my fault. So I hope the people of Greater Lincolnshire are happy that they've put someone incompetent in charge of their this place, because she's going to be a disaster. She's not going to get things done, and she's going to blame everyone else because she can't get things done. She's not going to get things done because she's incompetent, and she's just going to use this position to, of course, help Nigel Farage. This is what it's all about.